And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
Let's take an email here. You can always email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. James writes in, subject line, O.J. Simpson rookie card value. Hey, John, I have the Juice's rookie card, and according to Beckett, it's worth $250 in near mint condition. Obviously, mint condition, it would go for much more, but I'm going by the last years that Beckett has for this.
What's going on, America?
She's ready.
So the Juice really commands a premium still.
I mean, he doesn't command as much as a Bulbasaur.
Well, with the holidays coming up, O.J. Simpson said that he never celebrated a Christmas without a honey-baked ham. He was the spokesman.
That's right.
800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is a New York Times bestselling author many times over. You can also follow her on X at Ann Coulter. You can get her online at anncoulter.com. And in both of those places, you can find out how to subscribe to her Substack, where she puts out videos and interviews and all kinds of amazing things that are all things Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, welcome.
Good to be here, John Phillips.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. So let's start out. I know you keep a very close eye on what's going on right now in the White House regarding immigration. And there is a big debate going on as to whether or not the number of people who are leaving the country is as large as the Trump administration claims. Now, what I look for, because it's very difficult to find statistics that are accurate, statistics that accurately reflect what's going on in the world, I look for certain markers in my own life, in my own daily news consumption that would indicate just exactly where things are. There was a story in Oakland where crime, of course, is off the charts, but if you believe the local electeds, it's safer than it's been since the 1950s. And the 7-Elevens in particular, they're getting robbed all the time. And the way that they're robbing them has changed from the way they used to be robbed back in your father's era, which is now that they steal a Kia car or they steal a Hyundai, one of the Korean cars that's very easy to steal. Actually, they steal two of them. They steal one that they use as a battering ram, and they drive it through the wall. And then they take the cigarettes and they take the ATM, because that's what you feed your starving child. And then they have the second Kia that's stolen, that's the getaway car. And they leave one stolen Kia in the 7-Eleven with the rubble, and they have the second stolen Kia that takes off with the robbers, with the ATM, with the cigarettes, the lottery tickets, all of that. And 7-Eleven has come out and said that they cannot staff their 7-Elevens in Oakland anymore. They cannot hire cashiers. They cannot do it. And so 7-Eleven has pulled out entirely. The only people who are left are the franchisees, and they're saying they can't hire cashiers. Well, if you come here from India, Pakistan, wherever, and you're fresh off the plane and you're looking for a job, that's the job you can get, because you need to have someone who hasn't been there long enough to know that's a very, very violent time to be at a 7-Eleven. So you're looking for someone who comes in that's a blank slate. And they can't find people to do that, which leads me to believe that they aren't coming right now.
Interesting. I'm giving that some thought. I do think that's true. I mean, I'm thrilled with Trump this term. I do like that conservatives are putting pressure on him. Keep the pressure up, because that's the most popular issue Republicans have, immigration. It isn't apparently Obamacare or affordability and so on and so forth. Immigration is still the number one issue, and much to the New York Times' dismay, overwhelmingly, voters say, yeah, they want them all deported. Not just the criminals, NBC, not just the criminals, New York Times, but Stephen Miller is in the White House. I trust him to keep his eye on the ball. That's a very interesting analysis. You have the population level analysis. But it does, yeah, I mean, something's being done, though I do encourage conservatives to keep paying attention. We don't want, Trump is very easily distracted.
But it seems like it's working this time. It seems like, based on everything that
I wasn't even doing anything last time, so yeah, compared to nothing, this is good.
But it's like when word gets out, for example, when dealing with crime, if you have a Soros DA and you have someone who you know is not going to prosecute you, the criminals all know that. They may not read the New York Times cover to cover every single day, but the news leaks out. And when you have someone new that gets elected and they run on the platform of throwing everyone in jail, even though the criminals don't necessarily follow the ins and the outs of the campaign, word gets out and they now know that it's not good for business there, so go someplace else. And I just kind of feel like there's that mentality right now going on in the country where word is out to the point to where everyone on planet Earth is aware of it. It's not a good time to go there right now. Go someplace else.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty striking that in certain states around the country, Florida, Texas, Georgia, basically the entire old Confederacy. There were no BLM riots. There were no smash and grabs. You don't smell pot every place you go. The crime rate has not gone up. You know, I just spoke at MIT last week, and they had for a while a Soros prosecutor. She was elevated to U.S. attorney by Biden, and then started committing some crimes. So she's gone. But what I've noticed is that any city that has a George Soros prosecutor watches crime and the murder rate soar. So I checked Boston, and the murder rate had not, and crime rate had not seemed to have gone up. I had a former police officer in Boston as my bodyguard up there, and I asked him about it, and oh my gosh, he just laughed and said, they are just lying. It was through the roof. We had BLM riots constantly. It was dangerous. This is why some of my police buddies and I have now formed a private security firm. It was not worth working for the police anymore. So, yes, we know how to stop crime, and I guess we know that liberals don't want to stop crime because it was done, as you say, looking at the population level effects on these things. There are plenty of states that didn't have that happen. And by the way, you're now going to get all of these mostly poor minority neighborhoods where there won't be 7-Elevens and there won't be Target stores or Walmarts. Or grocery stores. And then we'll hear about how America is systemically racist because it's a food desert. It's a pharmacy desert. These poor minorities, they can't go shopping anymore. Well, okay, that's because of your liberal prosecutors. That's your George Soros prosecutors. At least figure out where the blame lies, and maybe you can prevent it from happening again.
Here's a story from the Associated Press. The Associated Press is reporting that the Trump administration is adding another militarized zone to the southern U.S. border to support border security operations, this time in California. The Department of Interior said that it would transfer jurisdiction along most of California's international border with Mexico to the Navy to reinforce the historic role public lands have played in safeguarding national sovereignty. The newly designated militarized zones extends nearly from the Arizona state line to the Otay Mountains wilderness, traversing the Imperial Valley and border communities, including Tecate. Now, I've had conversations with people. Well, I've had conversations with people about the California border, because when you hear about the border crossings and you see all of the people coming over the border, although you don't see that anymore, but we're going back to the Biden years here and before him. Most of that video was taken from Texas and Arizona. And people are always surprised because those are red states, or I guess Arizona's purple, Texas is still red, at least it is now, and California is a blue state. And the question becomes, why is it that they're pouring into the red states and not the blue states? And I explain to people, in the 90s, it used to be California. We were the entry point. That's how you got Proposition 187. And Pete Wilson had bad poll numbers, but he was able to salvage his reelection bid in part because of the immigration issue. Crime also was important to him.
Yeah, that was huge.
But the reason that they stopped coming here was they put up a wall in San Diego. And the wall in San Diego almost single-handedly shifted all of the entries to California, from California, I should say, to Arizona and Texas. That was what did it more than anything else.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's why, I don't know if you recall, but I got a little mouthy with Trump during his first term. Because that's why at all of his 1 million rallies when he was running in 2015 and 16, the chant was, build the wall. The people going to his rallies, the voters, they grasped the point you just made instantly. We didn't need, flow charts. They knew people pouring over the border, what we need is a wall. And we thought Trump saw the same thing we do. People pouring over the border, we need a wall. Then he didn't do it. I don't know if you've checked. I was just trying to look this up the other day. I mean, I got to assume that they're building the wall, but looking online, it didn't look like there was an enormous amount of progress. I won't complain yet. They're doing a lot on immigration, but we really, really do need a wall.
Well, the way that these things typically happen, when you're looking at any kind of public infrastructure project, whether it's the bullet train in California or fill in the blank from. Well, but what you need is a company that wants the contract that juices the Congress and juices the administration. And I don't know if that's going on with a border wall or not, but some company that wants to make $1 gazillion should start buying them all off.
Oh, that's a good point, John Phillips. We ought to look into who the CEOs are of major wall companies. Give them a tip. Want to be rich?
I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, it's politics 101.
You're right. I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of that. You're absolutely right, John Phillips.
Are you surprised that Tom Homan has been able to stay in the administration for as long as he has, given the fact that the news media really went after him aggressively? Because he's one of the guys who has his foot on the gas pedal in terms of border security, has been doing that and saying that for his entire career. He's not new to the party here. But he has taken a lot of slings and arrows, and it would be real easy to cut him loose, and he's still there.
I really am not, and the reason I'm not, I mean, hats off to Trump and Stephen Miller for recognizing that this is an important issue and actually following through this time. But it is just, it is my perennial position. You cannot go wrong in politics by being too tough on immigration. There's no evidence of it ever hurting a politician by being too tough, by being too lenient. Yes, absolutely. I mean, still to this day, that's Trump's most popular issue. Trump sure knew it in 2016. He was every Republican he was running against supported amnesty except what's his name, Santorum, but he was out of the race after like 6 minutes. But all the ones we kept seeing on the stage during the debates, no, it was all, they have to speak in Spanish, talk about their immigrant relatives, and okay, that's great, but what we really wanted was a wall. There's one guy up there who's pushing the wall. And look, if you're popular, I think you can keep your job. So go Tom Homan. I couldn't be happier.
In your book, Adios America, you talked about the relationship between the Chamber of Commerce and open borders, where the Chamber of Commerce benefits from open borders because they bring in cheap labor. They can undercut the people who are already working there Wages will go down. They don't have to provide the benefits. Unionization doesn't have to happen. And they make tons of money off of the border being wide open. And big business has historically taken that position, from the trade groups to the CEOs to the people who have the ears of the politicians. What's different, I think, now, and maybe you disagree, I don't know, but what's different now with the business community is the person who is at the top of the pyramid, and this is not in dispute, I don't think, is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is probably the most successful businessman, not just in the country, but in the world. And he's a guy who had the president's ear, and I guess has the president's ear yet again. They had a falling out. Now he's back in his good graces. When Elon Musk talks about immigration, he sounds like you. And it doesn't sound like he's doing it for popularity. It doesn't sound like he's doing it because he believes that that's what Trump wants to hear or the people around him want to hear. It seems like a very sincere belief that he has read a lot about, thought through, has very strong opinions on, and is willing to go out there and make the argument and engage on X and engage in interviews. And he's not shy about talking about the subject. How important do you think that is?
I've noticed the same thing. He does sound, when I see these tweets, man, I wish they had all just read Adios America when it came out. We could have gotten this done 10 years earlier. But he's not quite down with the Adios America and Coulter program when it comes to his own cheap labor. It's always somebody else's cheap labor. Remember, there was that big fight at the beginning of the Trump second term with Elon saying, no, we need more H-1B workers. We need more, and the MAGA base blowing up at him. No, Republicans need to, I mean, if there are any smart Republicans, they need to, and I think Vance is very smart. He's very good on this. But they got to have a backbone and go to the business lobby and the Chamber of Commerce and the Elon Musks and say, just drive them around with a gun to their heads and explain simply that we can give you tax breaks, we can give you tax reform, we can give you regulatory reform, we can probably get it so healthcare is not just continually destroyed by Obamacare. The one thing we can't give you is cheap labor, or we will never be able to give you anything ever again. And, take your chances with President Gavin Newsom.
Well, I mean, the other thing that he says, and he says this consistently, is he thinks AI is going to result in a workless economy where we don't need people to do not just the mundane jobs, the repetitive jobs, but a lot of white-collar jobs are going to be eliminated too. Well, if you're looking at a world where a lot of the jobs that exist today won't be here tomorrow, then importing a lot of cheap labor today may benefit certain businesses in the short term. That's going to be a disaster in the long term.
Yep, just a gigantic welfare state that we'll be paying for. I do think that is not true about AI. Yes, a lot of industries are going to go away. A lot of industries have already gone away. I mean, just with everything being online now, some of the oldsters like us will remember a time when the media consisted of newspapers and magazines. And I remember being at Elaine's with Geraldo and talking to, I think it was the editor-in-chief of the Chicago Tribune, and him saying, quite confidently he thought newspapers wouldn't go away, and I just like to hold something in my hand. And I mean, everybody was already going to the Drudge Report and to other places. Newspapers, journalism, magazines, the photo shoots. There was a whole industry in New York City around the publishing industry and the magazines and Condé Nast. Gone. And the reason I'm giving you that little history is, some industries are going to be gone that exist today. But since the beginning of time, there have been inventions that the cavemen probably thought, oh, with fire, that's it. We're just going to sit around and have nothing to do. Wait, you invented the wheel? We don't need people dragging stuff anymore. And so every invention, people always think this is it. No one will ever work again. No, it just makes life better, faster, easier, and we will be doing different things.
Ann Coulter. You can get her online at anncoulter.com and follow her on X at Ann Coulter. And happy belated birthday. Happy birthday, Ann.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's my birthday month, so you're not late at all.
All right. The month, the holy month of Ann. All right. We'll chat again real soon. Is seeing a drunk person try to pronounce that word? Maybe Gavin's chief of staff can give it a try.
Comes up at karaoke, does it?
Oh, yes. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, we're almost done for the week, which means if you want to listen to us on Saturday or Sunday, there will be no live shows. You're going to have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, we're not doing this 7 days a week. Gots to have some space between you and I. But if you want to continue listening to this because you're just sick of everything else that's out there, and I understand it, I've listened to what else is on that dial. Both dials. My goodness. I think we're the only good thing left. So search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. You can get the free KABC app, get the free KSFO app, get the KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays at 2 in the Central Valley. Just download all the apps. You got room on your phone? I have like 300 apps on my phone. It's embarrassing. And I have all 3 of those, so you could do it too. Anyway, get those apps. You can listen live to our stations wherever you are and download all of the podcasts.
Can you imagine how bad your mental health would be if you had to be around me 7 days a week?
That's a lot.
That would definitely be overdoing it.
At some point, you'd run out of things to complain about to me during the commercial breaks.
Oh, yes, but my HOA drama is fantastic right now, isn't it?
It is, but 7 days a week of that would be a little much.
And I never shut up.
Who talks to who more during the breaks? It's usually you.
That's true.
I just have a lot of other things that I'm doing. But I love the conversation.
All right. So we know that the state's 911 system melted down in Oakland. And that was one of the things that got our Shangy in trouble.
Poor Shangy getting so much flack today.
And that's the truth.
But apparently it's a complete embarrassment statewide, too.
Well, you remember before Gavin Newsom became the governor and before he wrote his current book that he's touting about his rough upbringing, he wrote a book called Citizenville. And the whole point of Citizenville, and one of the things Gavin Newsom ran on as governor of the state, was modernizing California government, digitizing California government. And one of the things that Gavin Newsom has gone forward with in his effort to digitize the state, to modernize our ancient computer systems, is something called Next Gen 911. And unfortunately, with Gavin, who doesn't do much follow through with anything, the rollout of Next Gen 911 has been a disaster. The person they put in charge of Next Gen 911 resigned, and now Gavin Newsom's Office of Emergency Services is refusing to release documents about Next Gen 911 to investigative reporters that have been asking for them for over a year.
Well, part of the problem, too, is they put totally unqualified people in these positions. I mean, Gavin Newsom, knowing him, my guess is the person or the people that he put in charge of the 911 system think it's a form of hot sauce at Hooters.
For more, let's go to NBC in the Bay.
Is the governor's Office of Emergency Services delaying the release of public records?
Why, yes, they are.
We can confirm that.
For more than a year, investigative reporter Candace Wynn has been formally requesting the emails of a former state leader that might explain the oversight of California's problematic digital 911 network. And for over a year, the agency has not released them. So let's bring in Candace. And Candace, what have you learned?
Cal OES tells us there are thousands of these messages. As a public agency, it is legally obligated to disclose them promptly.
Notice how this is something that you see in so many different California agencies, whether it's the Department of Insurance or emergency services. They don't want to release public records that they are legally required to.
No, and then they tell you how transparent they are.
According to the California Public Records Act. But we haven't received one of this former project leader's emails.
As I think about rolling out NextGen in California.
September 2024, Budge Courier had his official last day at the California Office of Emergency Services as Assistant Director of Public Safety Communications and as the visionary and leader of California's Next Generation 911 project.
A project that has been a complete and utter disaster.
And you know that because they call him a visionary.
Initially budgeted for $300 million in 2018, Courier's plan promised to bring the state's 911 emergency calling system into the digital age.
NextGen prepares us to receive all of that data much better than the way it's set up now.
7 years and nearly $500 million later, the state is ditching Courier's plan.
Wow, this sounds like the baby sister to the bullet train.
And moving in a different direction after our investigative unit first exposed a laundry list of concerns more than a year ago. From dispatchers reporting dropped and misrouted 911 calls delaying life-saving help.
They were testing our...
Every single time the California state government, and this is true with local governments too, they're going to upgrade technology. Do they go to the incredibly successful tech firms that are literally born in this state to say, hey, can you help us out with something? Or do they try to contract out to some crooked firm that has no idea what they're doing? Case in point, the LAUSD iPad scandal.
And this is why we never have anything nice here.
From dispatchers reporting dropped and misrouted 911 calls delaying life-saving help.
They were testing our lives.
To project insiders saying the technology wasn't ready, but the state deployed it anyway.
We knew, putting it in, that it was not fully baked.
A month after Courier's departure, NBC Bay Area filed a public records request with Cal OES asking for his emails. We wanted to know what was happening behind the scenes as project delays mounted. More sources came forward reporting problems, and the agency said it's pushing forward.
This is exactly why we have a Public Records Act and why we have the people's right to know, so that the press and public can have full transparency into how government is doing its job.
David Lowe.
Now, why would we want that?
No, and this is literally a matter of life and death. If someone's having a heart attack, if there is a traffic accident, if someone had a stroke, the minutes matter.
Can have full transparency into how government is doing its job.
David Loy is legal director of the First Amendment Coalition, which fights for government transparency. We reached out to him after Cal OES continuously delayed turning over the emails we asked for. Over the past 14 months, our team of journalists asked the agency for those public records at least 30 times, in writing, by phone, and in meetings. These are the agency's responses to us, giving various reasons for the delays, like staffing.
So they can't follow the law?
And by the way, we're talking about taking an email and hitting the forward button.
These people are ridiculous.
Even if there's nothing that they're hiding, when they're not being transparent and they're obfuscating and not sending over these documents, it sure makes this look way worse than it probably even is.
Well, this is what it tells me. They don't care if their incompetence causes people to die. That's not relevant to them. What they try to hide is if they gave the contracts to their friends, and there's problems with that. If the money found its way back to them some way, then they're going to get in trouble. And that's usually what happens when someone blows the whistle. So I have no evidence at all to suggest that this is what's going on. But they're acting like they did something far worse than cause a program that costs a lot of money to not work.
and the Southern California fires and storms.
The problem here with a delay of over a year or more is that documents delayed are documents denied. People don't trust what they can't see. They can't hold their government accountable without access to the information necessary to do so.
We don't even know why that guy was fired to begin with.
Nope.
While Cal OES has provided us records in response to other requests, including some emails from Courier's former boss, we're still waiting for Courier's emails. During a recent state 911 meeting, we pressed for answers. Those now in charge of the project had the agency's attorney respond.
Why haven't we received these public records?
Well, as you know, Candace, we've been in dialogue. In fact, you and I have spoken very recently, and I actually even communicated with you this morning to give you an update on where things are at.
Okay, that doesn't mean she has the documents.
No, it doesn't. And it's at this point, I have to now go to the YouTube channel because when I downloaded this to my computer, it didn't give me the whole story. So, un momento, por favor. Let's go right back to the story. I'm just going to start playing these things off of YouTube. Seriously, why am I wasting my time? Okay, 3 minutes and 24 seconds in. And let's hear this argument with this dude.
From Courier's former boss, we're still waiting for Courier's emails. During a recent state 911 meeting, we pressed for answers. Those now in charge of the project had the agency's attorney respond.
Why haven't we received these public records?
Well, as you know, Candace, we've been in dialogue. In fact, you and I have spoken very recently, and I actually even communicated with you this morning to give you an update on where things are at.
I'm so transparent.
Okay, that is a bunch of useless information. We want the documents. Well, I told you this morning, I told you last night, we're working on it. We're trying to get them as fast as possible, but that's the update.
We produced already a significant amount of documents over the years, and this is the next in the phase of those to produce. We have produced approximately 3,000 documents to you.
But not the emails.
Well, let me finish. Those are the ones that we thought we wanted to make sure we got to you.
But you didn't. And it's been a year.
They were very complex, as you know. So that's what we did. And so those next ones are on their way to you soon. So
Respectfully,
this sounds like someone that owes me money.
Yeah, they come up with every excuse on planet Earth. You ask them a simple question and you hear about the cost of tea in China.
we have been receiving promises like that, just like that, for months. And we.
By the way, the only way that she's getting them to even speak about this is she went to this meeting and spoke at public comment. So this is all on camera.
Still don't have.
They don't like that.
We've been talking about.
Yeah, well, all I will say is we've continued to engage. You've spoken. You have my phone number. I'm sorry that it has taken longer than has been ideal.
It simply should not take this long. It may not be something they can turn around in a day, but a year or more is simply unacceptable. Because
what are they hiding?
A year?
It's been a year.
These people are buffoons.
At the end of the day, transparency is the oxygen of accountability.
Boy, that was a cliche.
We reached out to Budge Courier. He didn't respond to our request for comment. Cal OES was sued by another journalist this past summer. He accused the agency of stonewalling other internal emails. Court documents show Cal OES denied that it slow-rolled the records and ended up releasing the emails after being sued. With the investigative unit, I'm Candace Wen, NBC Bay Area News.
Well, I think we know what Candace's next move is.
Well, if you have to sue them to get them to comply with the law, then they're not complying with the law, because that is a huge expense that most people can't cover. Let's go to Stan in Orange County. Stan, hello.
Hey, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Wang. Memories are short. I don't remember all the exact specifics, but think back into the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in that time frame when California spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to revamp the DMV system and implemented it and realized it didn't work and threw it all away. So, you know, people keep voting for these stupid lavosos that appointed lavosos that create this stuff. So, you know, if that's what you want, just keep voting the way you're voting. I mean, it's pathetic.
I'll tell you, though, compared to a lot of these organizations, the DMV is much better. My experience with the DMV
yeah.
has been if you do what you can do online before you go and you have an appointment, it's usually not that bad. Certainly not like it was in the 1990s. But organizations like this, I don't even think it's incompetence, to be honest. I think they're purposely trying to hide the ball because they have something to hide.
Well, yeah, of course. And I don't give DMV all as good a credit as you do. The newer system within the last 10 years is better than the old system that they had. But the point is they revamped a whole new system and it didn't work. So, all that money was out the window. But, who got paid off on that stuff? But anyway, just more California incompetence as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. It's the John Phillips Show.